Lesson 1, we focused on self-awareness, a practice that allows us to look within and conduct an honest personal assessment of our strengths, weaknesses, abilities, and limitations. These traits form the basis of predominant thoughts, beliefs, and actions. In short, these 4 traits describe who you are. They also form the foundation of your desire and motivation tendencies. With that in mind, let's take a close look at each of these 2 tendencies, desire and motivation, to better understand them and ourselves on a deeper level. Your desires are formed by an attractive force or forces that align with your physiology, think 5 senses, and your psychology, think emotions, logic, strategy, etc. In other words, you develop desires through the attractive force of enhancing or protecting yourself in some form or fashion. Think of a time you may have desired something or someone new or essential into your life. Think of the desires you have for elevating your life through education and courses such as this one, or your investment of time, money, or resources to improve or protect the quality or safety of your life. Desire is the key to motivation. Napoleon Hill, author of the Think and Grow Rich series, said it best when he described desire as the starting point of all achievement. So, in order to achieve something, we must be motivated to act. Motivation is a psychological force that compels a physiological reaction. In other words, the things you think about on the inside will eventually manifest themselves physically on the outside, most especially if they motivate you to act. Your desires create a level of motivation that determines how you react to something. Where there is no desire, there is no motivation. Case in point, let's say I ask you to run through a flaming wall of fire. Your initial reaction would most likely be, heck no. Hence, no desire and no motivation to do such a thing. But if I explained, or if it were obvious that it was the only way that we could escape the burning building we were trapped in, desire would clearly exist and motivation would soon follow. To bring this closer to home, your desire to discover the keys to success in every endeavor was likely one of the motivating forces supporting your action to participate in this course. Motivation is an all or none concept. You either have it for a given situation or you don't. But just because you currently have motivation does not mean it'll last. What most commonly happens is that people set out to achieve a particular task, face hardships, find it difficult to manage, and before they know it, they have little to no motivation left to complete the task they had initially set out to accomplish. As the motivation wears off, they begin to experience a feeling of emptiness, dissatisfaction, when they see that they're making little or no progress toward what they had hoped to achieve. As the prospect of achievement fades, so too does the desire to achieve it. And, as we already know by now, without desire, there is no motivation. Knowing this helps us to understand the importance of desire's role in helping us to sustain the motivation required to follow through and fully accomplish our goals. So, if desire is the key to sustaining motivation, how do we cultivate and then sustain our desire in the first place? The answer lies in your ability to stay connected to why you desire it in the first place. There are 2 basic kinds of desires, fleeting and genuine. A fleeting desire needs little explanation and is fairly self-defining. It's temporary. You can certainly be attracted to something and develop a desire. But sooner rather than later, you'll know whether or not it's more of a distraction or fleeting than a genuine desire. For years, I thought I desired to have a Corvette, until I drove a few models and I realized it required a whole lot more room and utility than a Corvette would bring me. In other words, mine was more of a fleeting distraction than a genuine desire. If it was a genuine desire, I'd be driving a Corvette today. Fleeting desires can have a number of undesirable effects you may not be immediately aware of because of the attraction power they initially have. These desires can ultimately be unhealthy, distracting, expensive, destructive, or just not in your best overall interest. Consider this as you determine whether or not your desires are genuine or fleeting. To sustain motivation, your desires must be compelling. They must be something that you believe to be so vital to your goal that you'll simply stop at nothing to achieve it, no matter what. Your desire must be the reason you created the goal in the first place. Some people refer to this reason as your why. We touched on this in Lesson 1. One of the reasons it's called your why is because of the often used technique that reconnects you with the core of your desire. I call it a reinvigoration technique. The reinvigoration technique is a simple mental exercise that calls upon you to recall your why during times of challenge, self-doubt, or disruption. When things become difficult and seemingly insurmountable, and they will, you're reminded to consider why you created your goal in the first place. By reconnecting your why with your goals, you have the power to leverage and influence the motivation you need to overcome obstacles and create momentum and sustainment. Hopefully you're beginning to see the importance of relationships forming about how your reason is connected to your why, which is ultimately connected to your purpose. Once you discover your purpose, you'll quickly discover that there's nothing stronger or more compelling than to do everything you can to fulfill that purpose. Consider the story of a man or woman who strives to create something out of nothing, with no special privilege or financial advantage, who perseveres through physical, emotional, and circumstantial barriers to break free from the circumstances that bind them, leaning on nothing more than a compelling reason to rise above the limitations of mediocrity, disadvantage, inexperience, circumstance, and oppressive societal influences. Think of the athlete who practices day after grueling day to get better, stronger, faster, and smarter. Or the writer, musician, or artist who spends hours upon countless hours to stand out among the rest. Or the medical profession, attorney, or pilot who study, analyze, and relentlessly refine their knowledge, skills, and expertise to achieve the milestones that allow them to go from ordinary to extraordinary. These people are not lucky. They're driven. Each and every one of them is intimately connected to their why. People often ask, why do they do it? Therein lies the question, or better stated, the answer. Each and every one of the people I just mentioned relies on their individual compelling why to be the absolute best at what they do. It is the essence of what drives them past each and every obstacle. Theirs is not defined by circumstance. It is defined by their why. These people are unique only to the extent that they've discovered this life-changing philosophy and are doing something about it. The good news is, it works for anyone willing to discover their why and to follow that up with consistent action to achieve their goals and dreams. And now, you have that same information. This powerful knowledge is now in your hands. The only question that remains is, will you use it to connect with your why? Now, I'd like you to go to your workbook and list some of your desires. Then spend some time thinking about why you want these things in your life. Some questions to think about as you list each of your desires. Why do I desire this? Does this desire add value to my life? If so, how? Does this desire support my goals? If so, how? If not, can I live without it? Remember, to sustain motivation, your desires must be compelling. They must be something that you believe to be so vital to your goal that you'll simply not stop at anything to achieve it, no matter what. While you're in the workbook, write a short but compelling statement that describes your individual why. It's important to write your statement as if you have already achieved it. This method helps to convince your subconscious of the reality of your narrative. Remember, your why is the reason for your desires. Your desire is the key to your motivation. And, as we all know by now, motivation is an essential element to achieving your goals. Here are a couple of examples for a narrative to support your why. My financial freedom gives me an ability to help my parents to live a better life. It's the one thing I'm driven to do because of all the sacrifices they've made for me. Another example. My bachelor's degree provides me with the skills and credentials I need to break free from the low wages I've been making for far too long. Example 3. Having my pilot's license has exposed me to so many awesome opportunities to travel, make new friends, and embark on a wonderful career in the travel industry. Remember to connect your why with your purpose, and you'll have the kind of genuine desire it takes to blow past any obstacle or circumstance that dares come between you and your achievement.